The war had entered a new phase, one defined not by trenches or tanks, but by information, precision, and invisible strikes that reshaped the battlefield before a single soldier moved. As dawn broke over the Baltic Sea, radar screens near the Leningrad region began to pulse with warnings. Within moments, it was clear that this was no isolated drone raid. Ukraine had unleashed an armada of over 230 unmanned aerial vehicles, each one programmed with mathematical precision. Their destination, Russia's energy heart. For decades, the port of Primorsk had been the final checkpoint of Russia's Baltic pipeline system, a vital artery exporting over 1 million barrels of crude oil each day. It was where the lifeblood of Moscow's war economy met the open sea. Yet, on that cold September morning, the air above Primorsk was thick with danger. Drones, flying low beneath radar, descended in coordinated waves. Each carried just enough explosive to cripple, without mercy. The first explosions struck the Kusto, a 700,000-barrel tanker of the Shadow Fleet, followed by the Kylin and FOS-4, ships sailing under false flags. Within minutes, flames devoured the pier, and satellite sensors later confirmed that half of Primorsk's loading capacity had been obliterated. For Russia, this was more than the destruction of hardware. It was a message written in fire. The invisible trade routes that funded the war were no longer untouchable. What the world did not see was that this attack was only one part of a synchronized campaign, stretching from the Baltic to the forests of Belgorod. Even as the fires at Primorsk burned, another drama was unfolding 800 kilometers south, beneath the frozen canopy of pine trees. There, a 15-vehicle Russian convoy, escorted by elite Spetsnaz and Chinese military advisors, believed itself hidden and safe. They carried a secret cargo, 15 newly delivered PLZ-05 self-propelled howitzers, the crown jewel of a covert arms deal between Beijing and Moscow. Above them, high-resolution satellites operated by Maxar Technologies had already captured their movement from orbit. Data streams merged with signals from small Ukrainian reconnaissance drones, creating a live 3D map of the convoy's every turn. But when a Tor M2 air defense unit guarding the convoy shot down one of those small drones, the Russians unknowingly sealed their fate. In its final millisecond, the destroyed drone transmitted a compressed burst of GPS coordinates, marking every vehicle in the formation. In Kyiv, Ukrainian operators received the signal and began plotting a strike vector known as the Phantom Swarm Protocol. This was no ordinary ambush. It was a test of the new doctrine Ukraine had forged in 2 years of total war. The fusion of artificial intelligence, electronic warfare, and swarm tactics to destroy superior forces. 25 first-person view drones, each armed with a 2-pound-shaped charge, are prepared to launch from a modified M113 armored vehicle hidden 5 miles from the route. The goal was not to attack head-on, but to blind, confuse, and then annihilate. A symphony of code, signal, and explosion that would soon demonstrate to the world why information, not armor, would decide the wars of the 21st century. At 4:15 a.m., the forest was silent except for the hum of electric rotors. One by one, 25 Ukrainian FPV attack drones rose from the snow-dusted earth, their LED beacons flickering like fireflies before vanishing into the dark. Each machine carried a 2-pound-shaped charge warhead, designed to punch through armor and ignite whatever it touched. But unlike conventional assaults, these drones did not fly in formation. Their flight paths scattered across a 2-mile front, weaving and darting like birds caught in a storm. This was the Phantom Swarm, a radical tactic born from months of experimentation. Its purpose was to overwhelm sensors and deceive artificial intelligence. To the Tor M2 air defense radar protecting the convoy, The incoming swarm appeared as nothing but atmospheric noise. Random, meaningless specks in the sky. For 90 seconds, the deception was flawless. Ukrainian operators watched from their screens as the drones advanced undetected. Then, abruptly, their displays exploded with static. An unmistakable electromagnetic signature cut through their signal feed. A Russian Orlan-10 reconnaissance drone had entered the area, not merely observing, but actively jamming Ukrainian frequencies. In a flash, the hunter had become the hunted. Inside the modified M113, the lead operator steadied his breathing. Every second he transmitted, he risked exposing his location to the Spetsnaz anti-drone teams waiting nearby. Meanwhile, the Orlan's pilot, an experienced veteran, sensed something wrong. The radar clutter was too organized, too deliberate. Trusting instinct over automation, he radioed a warning to the convoy commander. Within minutes, the Russians deployed their countermeasure, the LPD-801 directed energy weapon. It fired a beam of concentrated radio frequency energy, invisible to the eye but lethal to circuits. 2 miles away, 3 Ukrainian drones suddenly dropped from the sky like stones. Inside the M113, 3 of the operators' screens went black. "We've lost 3 birds," he reported, voice taut with focus. "They're tracking our control signature." The convoy engines roared to life, trucks heavy with artillery accelerating through the forest. The Spetsnaz launched 2 more Orlan-10s, expanding their search grid, hunting the source of the transmission. But the Ukrainian operator refused to panic. Instead, he activated a classified countermeasure known as the Echo Trap. Rather than block the Orlan signal, it recorded and rebroadcast it with a perfect time delay, feeding the Russian drone a reflection of its own data. The result was chaos. The Orlan's navigation computer believed the swarm was miles away, sending false coordinates to the convoy commander. Russia's eyes in the sky had gone blind. With the Orlan neutralized, Phase 2 began. A hatch on the M113 slid open, and a Switchblade 600 loitering munition blasted upward into the night. It climbed rapidly, tracking the Orlan's thermal signature through its forward-looking infrared sensor. For 30 seconds, the Russian drone circled aimlessly, unaware that death was diving from 15,000 feet above. The Switchblade struck true. A burst of white light lit up the forest canopy as the Orlan disintegrated mid-air. The Ukrainian operator exhaled slowly. It was a flawless kill, but the silence that followed was not victory. The Spetsnaz had seen the explosion. They now knew the attack source was close. And in response, they summoned something far deadlier from the skies. A Ka-52 Alligator attack helicopter, armed with Vickers missiles, already lifting off from a nearby base and heading straight toward the Ukrainian strike team. At 4:18 a.m., the Ka-52 Alligator roared into the pre-dawn sky, its rotors carving crescents of mist through the frozen air. This 12-ton Predator was the apex of Russian close air support, a flying tank equipped with Vickers laser-guided missiles, a 30mm cannon, and advanced thermal imaging that could pierce fog and forest alike. Its mission was mercilessly simple: find the Ukrainian operator's position and erase it from existence. From 5 miles away, the Alligator's targeting officer acquired a lock. On his display, the heat signature of the M113 armored carrier glowed like a furnace beneath the canopy. Inside the Ukrainian vehicle, the lead operator felt the shriek of warning tones ripple through his headset. Vickers missile lock detected. Impact in 20 seconds. His pulse spiked, but his hands were steady. The act of launching the Switchblade had exposed his position. Now, survival depended on deception, not speed. He reached for the control console and triggered a countermeasure code-named Smoke Phantom. A canister launched from the roof, arcing upward before bursting into a shimmering thermal cloud. Within seconds, the air around the M113 blazed with false heat signatures, each hundreds of degrees hotter than the vehicle's own engine. The incoming missile saw this decoy as a blazing inferno and corrected its course. A blinding flash tore through the tree line, but the explosion was harmless, detonating against superheated air. Inside the helicopter, the pilot cursed as his targeting display blinked with static. He swung the cannon into position, ready to finish the job manually. But before he could fire, a new contact appeared on his radar, tiny, fast, and closing. It was a first-person view drone, jury-rigged with an electromagnetic pulse warhead. The operator had saved one drone for a final gamble. The Alligator's targeting computer flagged the signal as non-threat, a glitch too small to matter. It was the last mistake the pilot ever made. The drone streaked upward, detonating within 100 feet of the helicopter. A wave of invisible energy washed through the cockpit, frying every circuit, blanking every screen. The Alligator instantly became a 12-ton blind brick, its electronics dead. With no navigation, no weapons, no comms, the pilot could only limp back toward base, shaken but alive. The sky belonged to Ukraine again. At 4:21 a.m., with the air clear, the operator turned back to his console. 22 drones remained, circling above the Russian convoy in perfect predatory orbit. With one deep breath, he pressed final authorization. The swarm collapsed inward as 22 FPVs diving at 120 miles per hour. Guidance systems locked onto the weakest point of each truck, the fuel tanks. The first impact split the silence with a metallic crack, followed by a chain of detonations that rolled like thunder through the forest. 600 gallons of diesel ignited in a single flash, and the convoy became an inferno. The shaped charge warheads, programmed with 0.7-second delays, pierced armor before exploding, turning each vehicle into a pressurized bomb. Fire leapt from truck to truck, the blast wave from one triggering the destruction of the next. In less than 3 minutes, 15 PLZ-05 howitzers, 20 transport trucks, and 40 Russian and Chinese personnel were obliterated. The total loss, $70 million. The battlefield burned like a crimson sunrise, visible for miles. But as the smoke rose from Belgorod's frozen forest, hundreds of kilometers to the north, a different kind of fire was spreading. This one made of oil, steel, and panic, across Russia's economic lifelines near St. Petersburg. While the Belgorod forest still smoldered from the destruction of Russia's $70 million artillery convoy, the northern skies above St. Petersburg glowed with another kind of flame. The same week that Ukraine's drones had shattered the convoy, 230 UAVs were already in flight toward Russia's Baltic coast. It was not a coincidence. It was choreography. Every move, from the Switchblade ambush to the refinery strikes, was part of a unified doctrine: cripple the arteries that feed Moscow's war machine. At dawn, air defense alarms howled across the Leningrad region. Operators scrambled their Pantsir S-1 and S-400 systems, filling the sky with streaks of tracer fire. But Ukraine's drones, many of them UJ-22 long-range models, came in waves too numerous to track. Each was pre-programmed with layered objectives, some to strike radar towers, others to blind infrared sensors, and the rest to dive directly into fuel depots. Within minutes, the Primorsk oil terminal, the final export point of Russia's Baltic pipeline system, was in chaos. 3 massive Shadow Fleet tankers, the Kosto, Kylan, and FOS-4, were hit almost simultaneously. These ships, used to smuggle sanctioned oil under false flags, erupted into pillars of fire. Flames reflected on the water like a burning mirror. Satellite images later showed that half the port's capacity had been destroyed, halting the export of nearly 1 million barrels of crude per day. The economic shock reverberated immediately. Tankers rerouted, contracts frozen, and the Kremlin's precious cash flow throttled. 2 days later, the drones struck again, this time at the Kirishi oil refinery, just southeast of St. Petersburg. The refinery processed 6% of Russia's total refining capacity, producing fuel for both military and civilian use. The impact of a single kamikaze drone on the cracking tower triggered an explosion so violent that it could be seen from 20 kilometers away. Local officials blamed debris from intercepted drones, but satellite images revealed the truth. Scorched fuel tanks, twisted steel, and the complete shutdown of Kirishi's operations. Fuel shortages rippled across the region, gasoline prices tripled, long lines formed at stations, and even emergency services began rationing fuel. By mid-September, 17% of Russia's refining capacity was offline, forcing Moscow to import gasoline from Belarus just to keep civilian life functioning. The empire that once sold energy to the world was now struggling to keep its own cities running. But Ukraine wasn't finished. The next phase of the campaign unfolded beneath the tracks: railway sabotage. Infiltration teams from the SBU and HUR planted charges along critical rail corridors leading into the St. Petersburg region. At dawn, a fuel train detonated in a spectacular chain reaction, sending 15 tank cars skyward and killing 2 armed guards instantly. For 24 hours, the entire transport network froze, paralyzing the supply line between Russia's industrial heartland and its frontline positions near Kharkiv. The coup de grace came days later near Pokrovsk, where a Ukrainian Vilka-M rocket artillery crew destroyed a Russian Zoopark counter-battery radar that had just revealed its position by emitting a signal. The precision strike not only silenced a critical sensor, but also demonstrated Ukraine's evolution, from defending ground to shaping the entire battlefield ecosystem. Oil ports, refineries, railways, and radars. Each attack was a blade cutting deeper into Russia's logistical lifelines. By merging long-range drone warfare, electronic deception, and precision artillery, Ukraine had redefined asymmetric combat. The message was unmistakable. No port was safe, no convoy untouchable, no radar unseen. In the age of information warfare, victory belongs not to those with the biggest guns, but to those who see first, decide first,